The city lights glitter like a promise as the limousine pulls up to the glass and marble of the Langford Foundation. Tonight is the kind of gala that people will mention in passing at parties for weeks. Crystal chandeliers, a pianist playing a slow, deliberate Chopin, and more gowns than you can count. Cameras float like bright-eyed fish. Reporters jot down every detail with the hunger of people who know a single line can make their names. Inside, the floor hums with conversation about next quarter's donations, mergers, and who will be seen with whom. Laughter rolls across the room, a practiced kind that fills space but never touches the heart. At the center of this polished storm is Matthew Langford, philanthropist, tech titan, and the man whose name is on the building. He moves with the calm of someone used to being followed, every step measured, every smile calibrated. No one notices the small, quiet corner beside the private viewing balcony. No one notices the girl seated there, hands folded in her lap, a pale blue dress catching the light. Her hair is braided neatly, her posture straight but withdrawn. She watches the crowd with a softness that makes her look younger than her 16 years. Visitors glance toward her only long enough to admire her dress or remark on her beauty, then return to their drinks. She is Isla. She is Matthew's daughter. She is also deaf, and that fact has quietly settled into the background of every headline about the family, sometimes mentioned as a footnote, sometimes not at all. Tonight, it's a detail people step around like a storm drain. The woman who notices her is not supposed to be at the Langford Foundation Gala. She is wearing a plain black dress borrowed from a department store, her hands still smelling faintly of sanitizer from the hospital where she works. Her name is Maya, and she is the kind of person who sees the little things because she lives in the little things. The clipped fingernails of an old man in the ER, the exact tilt of a child's chin when they are trying to be brave. Maya pauses by a table of hors d'oeuvres. She has been invited as the guest of someone she barely knows. She stirs her champagne and tries to slip into conversation, but the words drain out of her. That is when she looks across the room and notices Isla. Isla's eyes are not scanning the room like a curious child. They are recording it, memorizing the way people move, the way their mouths shape words she cannot hear. She watches the pianist's hands move like a small, contained storm. There is a light behind her eyes, a whole world contained in the way she studies people. Maya crosses the room without thinking. She moves slowly, not wanting to startle Isla. She takes the empty seat beside her and smiles. Isla turns toward her and gives a courteous nod, fingers resting on her lap. Maya realizes then, clearly, that Isla uses sign language. Not the rushed, imprecise gestures that people sometimes invent to get by, but a fluid, careful American sign language, precise like the hands of a pianist. Maya has used sign language in college, enough to order coffee and ask directions, nothing fluent. But there are places inside her that remember shapes and movements like forgotten songs. Slowly, she reaches forward and signs, "Hello." Isla's hands freeze for the briefest second. Then her face opens, surprised and warm. She signs back, "Hello." The soundless exchange is immediate and real, like two people stepping into a shared language. The air between them changes, and the world at the gala keeps whirling, oblivious. They sit for a while, exchanging small signs. Name? She signs. Isla fingers her name, a clear, confident motion. Names are small keys that open doors. Maya spells her own, clumsy but honest. Isla chuckles silently and repeats it slowly, like teaching a friend a new melody. No one at the event is watching, because no one thinks to watch. The cameras capture the staged conversations and the champagne flutes. The headlines will later be about Matthew Langford's latest donation to pediatric health, not about the girl who sits apart. Maya learns a few things in that first half hour. Isla is brilliant, With a steady love for books and a wicked sense of humor, she expresses with eyes that crinkle. She is used to being invisible in rooms like this. People treat her like a living accessory, pretty to look at, harmless to ignore. Her father has spoken about her in interviews before, with the careful neutrality of a man used to press statements. He has hired tutors, secured the best technology, and stationed staff at her side like umbrella holders. But the presence of staff and the presence of warmth are not the same. At one point, a woman in a sharp suit tries to take a selfie with Isla. Isla doesn't react to the woman's laughter. The woman misreads the stillness and steps back awkwardly, not understanding the wide, private smile that grows when her hands are used to tell a joke with her eyes. Maya is not a person who makes grand gestures. She believes that small, honest acts build lives. She signs, "Are you okay?" Isla's face folds. She signs, "I'm fine." But the smile is brittle. She signs, "They forget I'm here." The word forget, signed softly, lands in Maya's chest like a small, solid stone. Maya wants to say everything at once, that she understands, that she sees, that she curses the polished rooms and the empty laughter. Instead, she reaches into her bag, finds a paper napkin, and draws a small, sloppy, smiley face. She puts it in front of Isla and taps it, then signs, "You are not invisible to me." Isla's smile is immediate and honest, like a light switched on in a dark room. She takes Maya's hand and presses it to her heart, then signs, "Thank you." The gala continues to whirl. The piano continues to play. Matthew Langford laughs at an off-color joke near the stage, and no one notices the small, bright conversation happening in the corner. The next day, Maya cannot forget Isla. She returns to her life at the clinic, but the image of the girl with the braided hair keeps surfacing between patients and charts. There is a hollow place in her day that the memory of Isla fills with light. She wonders if she should have said more, done more. The thought grows roots. Maya does something that surprises even her. She returns to the foundation the following week, this time with a volunteer badge she borrowed from a friend who works in community outreach. She signs up to help with an after-school literacy program the foundation supports, trying to find a way to be nearer to Isla without being intrusive. Isla is there in the program, sitting at a small table with a stack of novels. She is assigned to a reading group, but her hearing limitations make participation awkward. The other children shout answers into microphones, their voices ricocheting off walls designed for acoustics. The teachers read aloud, rapid fire, while Isla follows along on a tablet that translates. It is efficient. It is not connection. When Maya slips into the room and takes the empty seat beside Isla, the girl's face relaxes like someone finding a patch of sun. They begin to communicate. Maya learns that Isla loves maps, the idea of charting places that the world cannot reach her in. Isla signs dreamily about cities where people stop and speak directly to each other's faces, where hands are not a novelty but a language everyone knows. Their friendship grows in small increments, a shared sandwich in the courtyard, a book passed between hands, a joke made with eyes. Maya watches how Isla lights up when someone reads her story aloud, and how the light dims again when the speaker forgets to include her. Maya becomes practiced at alerting teachers, at tapping objects to draw attention, at creating space without making it feel like a performance. Word of Maya's kindness reaches staff and volunteers. Some assume she is a sign language interpreter. Others think she is a tutor. Maya doesn't correct them because the label matters less than the doing. She learns to be brave in ways she never expected. She learns to stand up in rooms and speak to her like she is a person, not a project. Slowly, the people around Isla change, not all at once, but enough for the girl to notice. One afternoon, a small hurricane of gossip sweeps the foundation. There are whispers about Matthew's health, about a possible sale, about his need to escape the public eye. For a man whose life is built on a spotlight, the idea of stepping back terrifies the press. For Isla, it is another conversation she is excluded from, another adult world that moves without her. Maya learns that a big donor is coming to the foundation that week, a potential partnership that could determine the future of several programs Isla loves. Island's face is clouded by worry. She signs to Maya, "If they talk and I am not there, they will decide without me." Her hands tremble a fraction. Maya knows what must be done. She arranges with the program director for Isla to be present at the meeting. It is small rebellion. The director smiles and says, "Of course she should be. It should have been obvious." But obvious is sometimes a thing people forget in polished rooms. On the day of the meeting, the conference room is a study in neutral luxury. A long table, expensive chairs, and a screen displaying graphs that look like constellations. The donor sits at the head, polished and polite. Matthew is present, larger than life as he occupies a chair, glancing periodically at his phone. The staff shuffle papers and offer small, rehearsed smiles. Isla sits at the end of the table, hands folded. She has her tablet, her notes. She is quiet but prepared. Maya sits beside her, a calm anchor. When introductions begin, people speak in the generalities they think a donor wants: impact, ROI, numbers. The donor asks about the foundation's reach with disabled youth. Many in the room talk around the answer, citing statistics that tumble like playing cards. Isla taps her tablet, and the room hushes as the translator projects her signed words into text on the screen. She speaks in clear, deliberate signs, the kind she has practiced in front of the mirror like a ceremony. She tells the room about the after-school program that taught her to love maps, about the volunteer who sat with her when no one else would, about the small things that made her feel seen. Her hands are calm. Her voice through text is stronger than anyone expected. There is a moment of silence, so complete you can hear the hum of the air conditioning. When she finishes, the donor leans back. He looks at Matthew in a new way, as if the room has been recontextualized by a child's simple honesty. Matthew's fingers tighten on the table. He looks at his daughter, really looks, and in that look something changes. It is not sudden. It is the small turning of a long-closed door. After the meeting, people gather in small clusters and say the things people say after moved performances. That was powerful. That was unexpected. But the important change is quieter. Staff begin to ask Isla for input on programs meant for kids like her. Teachers adjust curriculum. The foundation's decisions begin to contain a new clause: include those you intend to serve. It is practical and radical. For Matthew, the change is more private and harder. He takes a walk on the foundation's rooftop that evening, the city a spread of light beneath him. He finds Isla there, looking out over the skyline, hands clasped behind her back. He stands beside her, the distance between them measured in years. She signs, "Did you like the way I spoke?" Matthew lifts a hand awkwardly and signs, "I heard you." The motion is clumsy, unpracticed. Isla smiles like the sun peeking through clouds. He sits down beside her, and his voice, low and used in this odd intimacy, says, "I want to learn." The next months are small revolutions. Matthew enlists a private tutor. He makes time for dinner with Isla, where the phones are put away and attention is offered without calculation. He learns to sign, slowly and with the effort of a man willing to start from the beginning. They share awkward moments, misread words, missed signs, laughter at mistakes, and in those moments their relationship stitches itself back together. Maya watches from her corner like a gardener watching a seed take root. She never meant to be the architect of this change. She simply did what she could. She sat, she signed, she made room. But she learns that sometimes sitting in the right place is the bravest thing a person can do. The Foundation's programs shift too. New technology is installed that allows real-time sign language interpretation for community meetings. The outreach team hires interpreters and trains staff. The donor that once looked for numbers now funds a scholarship for disabled youth to learn tech and mapping, inspired by Isla's love of maps. The changes ripple outward in ways nobody could have measured at a gala. One afternoon, a year after the gala, the Foundation hosts an exhibit called Maps of My City, where children, deaf and hearing, create maps of the places they love. The room is loud with energy and conversation. There are collages, digital projections, and hand-drawn neighborhoods. Isla's map is a masterpiece of detail. She has drawn not only streets but the feelings attached to each place. Matthew stands beside her, fingers moving into practiced shapes. He is not perfect, but he is present. His hand finds hers, and they sign together, the way lovers might whisper. Maya moves through the room, and faces light up when they see her. Children point and say her name in fast, excited signs. She feels the warm, quiet pride of someone whose small choices made room for other people. She spots Isla across the gallery, laughing with a group of kids as they argue, in signs, whether the best park is on elm or maple. Isla's eyes find Maya and hold them, a private thank you. Later, as the exhibit winds down and the light outside turns to indigo, Matthew finds Maya by the window. He thanks her, his voice rough with feeling. He signs, "Your presence changed things." Maya shakes her head. She signs back, "I only saw her." She smiles and adds in speech, "That was always enough." Matthew's gratitude is more than a social courtesy. It is the realization that change often arrives through the mundane bravery of people who refuse to follow the polite script. He reaches into his pocket and produces a small card. It is an invitation to lead a new advisory committee, one that will include people with disabilities in every decision it makes. It is the kind of card that translates into policy, into the kind of structural change Isla needed. Maya accepts, not out of ambition, but because she knows what it feels like to be overlooked. She signs, "I will help." The word is simple, but it sends a line from one heart to another, like string between two tin cans. Years later, the Langford Foundation is described in newsletters and profiles not only for its grants but for its culture, a culture where voices that used to be background static are now part of the conversation. Isla becomes an artist and a map maker whose work travels beyond the city. Matthew becomes someone who speaks loudly about listening. Maya continues to work at the clinic and on the Foundation Advisory Committee, carrying stories between the two worlds like a bridge. The night the city names a new community center for inclusive arts, Isla gives a silent speech, signing with the confidence of someone who has always been there but is finally seen. The cameras capture the applause, the ribbon cutting, the ceremonial smiles. But the real applause happens in the quick, breathless sign language of a child who points and says, "That's my favorite bench." It is the unnoticed human noises, a small gasp, the clap of a single hand, that mean the most. Standing at the edge of the crowd, Maya remembers the first gala, the way people moved around the room like planets orbiting a distant sun. She remembers the small, quiet choices she made, and she knows that the true work is not the headlines or the donations. The true work is sitting down beside someone and learning to speak in the language of their hands. And in that language, patient, deliberate, generous, whole worlds begin to speak back.